G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoy today's stories. Now sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user Broccoli University, titled, Bachelorette Ruined My Friendship. This is a long vent. I am the maid of honor and organized a weekend getaway for the bride and her bridesmaids and a few of her friends. 10 people total. None of the girls, including myself, are friends with each other outside of the bride. I had a really hard time organizing this event because in the group chat, no one would reply, and I was left high and dry for a lot of the decision making. Eventually, the same 2 girls would chime in and offer to help. About a month ago, we made a group chat, just the 3 of us, to figure out last-minute details of the trip, since we are the only 3 really involved in the planning. Keep in mind that, from the beginning, the bride has said that she didn't want to be involved in the planning at all. Anyways, the weekend rolls around, and the bride ends up ignoring me most of the weekend. She only spends time with her other friends. I have yet to get any appreciation or thank you from her about the planning. Also keep in mind, everyone spent around $1,500 for the Airbnb, activities, etc., while the bride paid for nothing. The last day comes and things are tense. I've hung out mostly with the 2 other girls from the group chat because they're really the only ones I've become closer with. During the Bachelorette weekend, we used the group chat once to organize a surprise we had set up for the bride. We had set up decorations and a picture-taking area, a full table spread of cheeses and meats, a custom-made cake, and bride-personalized drinks, all of which she completely ignored when she saw it. The last night there, the other girls got invited to some retired hockey player's house, and the cab ride is $100 one way to get there. Considering the cost, and that it was really not my vibe, I said I would stay back, and the other 2 girls that I was with most of the time also decided to stay back. The next day when we were packing up to leave, the uncomfortableness was palpable. No one would look at us or talk to us. I was the only one with a truck, and the other girls shoved all of their stuff in my car so that there was no room for anyone to drive with me back home, which was an 8-hour drive. We get back home, we meet at the bride's house and unload my truck. As I'm pulling out of the driveway, the bride runs up to my car and says, "I want to see your phone and messages with the group chat with insert names of the other 2 girls." I say no, that's really uncomfortable and it's invading their privacy. She said fine and walks off and says nothing to me as I leave. From what I've collected and can infer, it probably seemed like myself and the 2 other girls were cliquey. However, I personally talked with everyone else lots, but was getting ignored by the bride. I'm at such a loss. We are adults, and I'm being asked to share my text with a group of girls that I was asked to interact with outside of the bride in order to organize her bachelorette. And now she's worried we've become friends without her? This is something I've been told explicitly. I want to pull out of the wedding for how poorly I've been treated. She has been a horrible friend, and her asking to go through my messages has been such a breaking point for me. Edit, for those asking, she wanted to see the chat because she said that she is insecure about me talking with the other girls about her, so she wants to see what is in our group chat. I absolutely had nothing to hide. There is nothing in that group chat. But I said no and told her she can ask the 2 other girls and then can see it because it's their messages too. It was more a thing of principle. I don't think you get ownership of your friends and should be able to see all of their messages because you're insecure about them being friends. As well, she hadn't spoken to me the whole weekend and I was feeling very ignored. She had many opportunities to ask to go on a walk with me and talk about this, but instead, she had waited until I was backing out of her driveway in front of all the other bridesmaids, except the other 2 from the group chat who had already left. Also, keep in mind, it was after about an 8-hour drive, and I was dead tired and wanting to get home, so either way, I wasn't going to sit and have a conversation. I also didn't get what the purpose of seeing a group chat would give. The 3 of us girls were there in person the whole weekend. If we wanted to talk about the bride, we wouldn't have been texting about it. And lastly, the whole reason we had this group chat was to plan the Bachelorette because none of her friends ever replied and stuff needed to get done. And the bride has explicitly said over and over and over she wanted no involvement of it being planned. In the comments, Assumption Advanced 58 says, "You got yourself in a dysfunctional wedding party. Is this someone you will stay friends with afterwards? I think it's worth trying to talk to the bride about your feelings. I feel like the wedding craziness bleeding over into other relationships is a super common topic here, so maybe it's just that. Hopefully, for your relationship. But it's also totally valid to want to opt out, and to do so. Just because she's getting married and/or is stressed doesn't justify her treatment of you. When she said, "I want to see your texts with so-and-so and so-and-so," why did you not ask why? So many moments I'm wondering if you had just had a non-response, and it's confusing. Lots of people would rather just avoid confrontation. Yeah, I find that quite unhealthy. There has to be a way to have direct communication that's not in the style of reality TV reunion shows. It's basic, but not always easy. She did say she was dead tired after the 8-hour drive, which makes sense. People can't always have the perfect comeback when tired. Unfortunately, you did not have a friendship. Friends do not behave that way. OP posted a couple of months ago that the bride had been making unreasonable demands while also not wanting to plan or pay any money for a trip that is costing everyone else over $1,000. It makes me wonder if this incredible entitlement is a new personality trait for the bride, or if she's always been like this. Exactly. The length of the party, the expense, and the fact that it was an 8-hour drive one way screams entitlement. Both of those things may be reasonable for a good friend, but all three? Update. The wedding was yesterday. I didn't go, and haven't spoken to the bride since I told her that I was dropping out of the wedding 2 months ago. Another bridesmaid also dropped out. The third girl mentioned in the original post did go, but she said she regrets not dropping out. The bride got mad at her for several other miscellaneous things in the few days prior to the wedding. I found out from the other bridesmaid that dropped out that the bride had been talking about me behind my back for the year leading up to the Bachelorette and had plans to completely ghost me and cut me off after the wedding. Keep in mind, she made me her maid of honor. Big lesson learned is to listen to your gut and do what's best for you. In the comments, Esoteric Carrot says, "Wow, sounds like you dodged a bullet. So sorry she put you through all that bullshit. Are you still friends with the other 2 girls? I hope the 3 girls stay great friends and go on vacations together. I'm so confused. If she wanted to ghost you and dump you as a friend, then why make you the maid of honor? I'm so sorry she is such a garbage human being. You deserve so much better from your friends." Sounds harsh, but based on the bride's behavior, I can't imagine that her marriage will last long. Sounds like she doesn't know how to take care of her relationships. I know you said this ruined your friendship, but honestly, it didn't sound like much of a friendship at all. The bride seems like a selfish, stuck-up bear. It's a good thing you didn't go, but I've lost supposed friends before, and the sting is still there, even when they're bad people. It still hurts, and I'm sorry. That really sucks, and I'm sorry you've put that kind of money and effort into all of that, which is super sweet by the way, just to be treated that way. However, after the pain of cutting off a dead limb of a friend fades, you'll feel so much better. Your life will be better. Again, I'm sorry this happened. You seem like a good friend. I initially thought this was about the show, but wow. The audacity to make someone your maid of honor, have her plan things, spend money on you, only for you to talk crap behind her back, ignore her, and then ghost her? She's also freaking out because her maid of honor is making friends with other people? I don't get brides like this. Why spend your wedding being a shitty person when you can spend it stress-free and happy? Well, because the bride doesn't know what being a good friend or person is, so she assumes everyone is as awful as her. So, what's the over-under on how many cheated whilst at the hockey player's house? So many questions and very little answers provided. Bride definitely, at least 2 others. Damn, what a messy situation this one was. I'm still so confused at that thought process too. Why make someone your maid of honor if you're just going to ghost them? She's so easily able to dismantle your wedding so close to the date if you treat them like that. I just don't understand the thought process. If she was going to do this, why not just make OP a bridesmaid? Not someone with power that can kind of derail the wedding very close to the date. I genuinely think some people are too stupid to be as evil as they are. And that's why I apply Hanlon's razor to so many things. What can be seen as malice can so easily be seen as stupidity. Unfortunately, she's both. Also, it's unfortunate that she used OP for so long, but as everyone else has said here as well, I do hope that those two other people remain good friends with you, OP, and they treat you much better than this asshole has. Our next post is by user Terrific Terror, titled, "Am I wrong for expecting people to pay my kid? My child, 9, has recently gotten into baking. She's really passionate about it, and it sparked most of our family members to stimulate said passion by requesting her to bake small items they happen to be craving right as they're coming over or have invited us over. They're always very small things like, 'Ooh, I'd sure love some brownies,' or something similar, and since people are asking and complimenting her genuinely makes her heart smile, I only support it and don't mind paying for the ingredients. One of my family members is hosting a gathering and asked my daughter to bake 75 cupcakes. They said they would take her shopping for ingredients. She asked me if she could, and I said sure. I supervise oven-related steps and have to be present. Afterwards, I contacted said family member to get some specifics as to allergies and other nonsense, and brought up the fact that she was so excited to have her very first paying customer. Said family member was apparently appalled at the expectation of paying my child for hours of labor, and stated that since she's a minor and doesn't have a genuine business yet, she shouldn't expect payment because taxes. I replied that if she feels that strong, she should order from a genuine business, because there is no way in any universe I'm going to let someone exploit my child like that. She accused me of promoting child labor, and when I retorted that she appeared to be fine with said child labor until she had to pay for it, she hung up on me. Now, some additional information, I didn't expect a full hourly wage, just something extra to thank her for her hard work. She's been putting every cent she gets in allowance or earnings towards more baking supplies. I expect she would have done the same with this money, but that's entirely up to her. If said family member decides not to pay, I'm still going to let her make the big order, pay her in full, and take the food down to a local food bank so she still gets the money and the experience. As fellow parents, how would you have approached this situation? I feel like I potentially robbed my kid of an experience she would have enjoyed out of personal principle. Edit, some more info, as it appears to be mentioned a lot. This is not a close family member, she's the kind of relative you only see at funerals or weddings. All the money my children earn goes to them 100%. Yes, I do pay for them to do the chores they do. No, I'm not going to try to turn my daughter's hobby into a business. I'm only supporting and teaching her wherever she takes it. I do not feel any kind of strong emotion towards said relative, I do not dislike her at all, and we aren't American. My advice as a single non-parent is that I feel like you've done everything here perfectly. You are creating and maintaining strong boundaries with said asshole and your child. If this person wants 75 cupcakes worth of free labor, they can goddamn do it themselves and not expect your kid to do all this work for free. 1 or 2 cupcakes, sure, it's a little gift that was easy to do, but 75 is hours of work and hours of sitting around a goddamn oven to make sure they don't burn. What dumpster fire are these people pulling their audacity from? I can't deal with this. In the comments, Henry Bellendry says, asking if the child would like to bring a dessert to share at the gathering is fine. Asking the child to make 75 frickin' cupcakes without any kind of reimbursement is just ridiculous. She's taking advantage and got called out for it. Right? It's the 75 for me. A dozen? Sure. 75 is a huge job for anyone without a commercial kitchen, and maybe even then. But I'll take her grocery shopping. And are you expecting her parents to foot the bill for that too, as she's the one making the cupcakes? 75 is insane. Of course she should pay for them. Where the hell is she getting 75 of anything without paying for the labor? Also, the number 75 is making me unreasonably aggravated. What sick human being asks for an odd number of cupcakes? You bake by the dozen. That's actually so true. What? What's next? Does she order a pizza and request it have 7 slices, and then turn the pizza man into a lampshade? She is 9. Crossing the parent and going straight to the child for such a request is unbelievable. They knew exactly what they were doing. Shame on them. This is common behavior in any creative endeavor. Family and friends think they're entitled to a discount or even free services and goods. Except they aren't. I think this is an important lesson to teach your daughter, to be honest, especially if she's planning on pursuing this further into a true business. She's going to have to learn how to say no to these types of people and how to manage the situations. This is a great opportunity for you to practice what to say and all of that. Your response about child labor is the kind of comeback I could only come up with in a hypothetical shower argument. I envy your quickness. I wish my wife would say that about me. That's what I was thinking. I am practically cheering at the timing and OP's ability to absolutely nail the response. We are in the presence of greatness. When I got married, my niece reached out and asked if I would like a wedding video. She was an aspiring videographer, and we didn't discuss the price as she offered. Imagine my surprise when she sent me a contract laying out expectations and saying the cost was $250. So you know what I did? I signed the contract and I paid her $250. I didn't really know what to expect of the video, but I wanted to support my niece as she navigated running her business. She was 17, so quite different than 9, but the concept stands. The wedding video is one of the best videos I've ever seen. It is so well done. It makes me cry every time I watch it. She did an amazing job, so I gave her an additional $200 as a tip. I would have had to pay a ton more for a video of this quality had I gone with a professional. She is now 20 and was hired by a professional sports team as videographer. She was able to use my wedding video as an example of her work. She is incredibly successful, makes nearly as much as I do at 20, and I'm 37, and I'm so glad that I chose to support her instead of pushing back over something so stupid. Your daughter is doing something that people would charge quite a lot of money for. Thank you for advocating for her. Update. First of all, thank you for all of the advice. Some things were really helpful, and I have put a lot of it to use. To those accusing me of trying to profit off of my child, monetizing something that should be fun, or being a shitty parent in general, go headbutt a moose. I've sat my daughter down and explained to her that the relative did not intend on paying her, that she was welcome to do the work for free if she so desired, but that she was also allowed to decline her request. We proceeded to have an entire discussion about the differences about doing someone a favor, like a pan of brownies, and labor, like catering an event. I emphasized it was her decision and she would have my help and support whichever way she went. She ended up asking if it were possible for her to attend the event instead of receiving payment so she could see the people eat her cupcakes and brag about making them, which the relative declined because it was a child-free event and she could not make exceptions. We both found this fair enough, and she requested a set of baking pans in sizes she doesn't have yet as payment, which the relative also declined because why should she give her gifts while it was the relative's time to be celebrated? She went on to say that my child was ruining the party by refusing to do dessert because she counted on it. My daughter was starting to feel guilty, and I stepped in, gave her a list of local bakeries and at-home bakers that she could contact, and wished her a fantastic day. Reassured my kid, and we went on to go shopping for the baking tins ourselves. About 2 hours later, the relative, undoubtedly having contacted bakers and bakeries, called and offered my daughter a gift card for a local shop that sells all kinds of cooking and baking supplies. She happily accepted, and we thought that was that. The relative really stepped up her game in making up for the nonsense, as she arranged for my kid and myself to supervise to be allowed in the venue's kitchen and make the cupcakes there, as the venue owners, who also cater the event, feel like the young passion should be encouraged. I've ordered her very first tiny apron, and she's beyond excited to experience a commercial kitchen, and watching her heart smile makes my mum heart happy. Final update. Hey all, as promised, I'm letting you guys know how things ended up going for my 9-year-old catering my relative's event. Today was the big day. This morning we went over to the venue where she was allowed to make a grand total of 76 cupcakes. because the chef found that 75 was an absurd number to order cupcakes in. She got to use professional materials and got tips and tricks from an actual patissier. Her smile didn't leave her face for half a second, and she genuinely had the time of her life. She got everything she was promised as payment, and got the business card of the chef that she worked with, and the promise that if she's still baking when she hits 16, there will be an internship waiting for her. My kid has been beaming all day, and it was absolutely worth it. Thanks for all the kind words and advice. In the comments, GRSZ11 says, "It is bonkers how your dick of a relative stumbled into fostering something so nice." Honestly, I think the relative needs some props here. Yes, they were a jerk, but importantly, they realized and made an effort to make up for being a jerk. That deserves credit because many people faced with their jerkishness end up doubling down on it rather than learning anything. I would have loved to see the relative's face after hearing the price of a professional bakery. Inspired quite a turnaround. Yup, know your worth. I'm glad OP advocated for her daughter and did not let her be exploited. Quality desserts are expensive. Yes, I couldn't believe some of the commenters. I've always tried my best to teach my son to know that his time and skills are worth something. I've tried to teach him that it's okay to do a favor, but to also recognize when you're being taken advantage of. I honestly couldn't see how the OP went wrong in this situation at any point. Hey, I'm glad it was a blessing in disguise because this relative was starting to make me blush. Some people have no idea. I'm glad her daughter had a good time in the end, so I think it was worth it. My friend has a Cricut. I asked her to make an iron-on for my cousin. It came out adorable. I treated my friend to a dinner as a thank you. My friend tried to refuse to let me pay, and I told her that her time and effort was so appreciated by me. I would gladly pay her directly if she would let me. Go headbutt a moose is now my new way of telling people to get lost. Why did the posters think that baking 75 cupcakes, and I assume icing as well, is a fun leisurely activity for a 9-year-old? That shit is genuinely work and should be compensated as such, no matter how much one loves baking. I'm glad it had a happy ending and that the relative got their head screwed on straight. Well, because they've probably baked cupcakes once, following instructions from a pre-made cupcake mix box, and made a dozen in about 30 minutes with not a lot of actual work. They just assume that all baking is that easy, so just have mum help to make a few extra pans. No big deal. I'd wager the relative might not have thought the same. Maybe talking to actual professionals gave some instant perspective, and instead of ignoring the situation or doubling down, the relative showed some effort in trying to remedy the situation. In summary, it's not child labor if it's free. Wow, the logic that some people have always surprises me. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.